Assassin's Creed Shadows is either the next big thing or another mid-Ubisoft game depending on what video you watch. But as someone who loved the classics and still plays them till this day, is it really worth playing? Well, Ubisoft surprisingly gave me a code so I could try it a few days before release, and this is my brutally honest thoughts, so stick with me. So first we have to talk about the visuals and whether this game performs well or not, as a lot of videos seem to have skipped this part and it's becoming more and more common for games to release with dog shit performance. So I played this on PC, and firstly, the visuals blew me away. The first time I finally wasn't watching a damn cutscene, these graphics produced an instant rod on, but does that make the performance suffer? Surprisingly, I experienced very little FPS drops despite the settings cranked up to the max at 4K, with ray tracing, which was a pleasant surprise. I also experienced no noticeable bugs, which was a massive result. The game has built a solid foundation, but what about the gameplay?
That must be Kyon.
Now, I'll be honest with you, I haven't really been a fan of the recent AC games that have adapted a new RPG style. In fact, I kinda hate some of them. Mirage caught my attention again with its back to the roots promise, and I did enjoy it, despite it still not being perfect. I went into this with an open mind, and there is things you need to know, some good and some bad. Parkour, which is noticeably one of AC's most important aspects, is a bit of a mixed bag. The map isn't exactly tailored for it, as it's mostly made up of forests, big open spaces, and small towns, unlike previous settings. And I have to say, when I did use it, it's not exactly fluent and it did feel clunky at times. It's not terrible, but during this part of the game where there is this huge battle going on, it felt easier to traverse the location on ground rather than trying to fight the clunky parkour mechanics. I do like the new animations, they look really clean and fresh, but climbing and traversing the map just feels off and kinda clunky. Honestly, I don't think it's a massive deal, as you won't be traversing very often like the classic games, but the lack of fluent parkour might be disappointing for some. However, combat was a very interesting experience. That's fine. Like we've seen in the series before, this game has two main playable characters who fight very differently. One handles like a charity shop Incredible Hulk, and the other feels like a silent assassin whose health bar decreases faster than my bladder during a morning piss. To begin with, I wasn't really sold on combat, but as I racked up the hours, I did grow into it. What I found unique was the parrying and blocking. Unlike most games, you can normally learn the patterns and timings rather quickly, making it a piece of piss. But in Shadow, whether enemies are going to deliver a unblockable attack or one you can parry seems like a roll of the dice, and the reaction times always felt varied, which is very challenging but more immersive and enjoyable. Animations also look badass, and yes, the abilities throw realism out the window, which some people might hate, but I personally really liked it. Smashing down doors like me after holding a shit in all day was kinda fun, aside from the fact the doors feel more brittle than an old bastard. Those of you like me who love the hidden blade are blessed with animations that don't repeat themselves more than a god-to-hell dementia patient like in Mirage, and annihilating throwing knives into foreheads is still fun. Aside from the fact my dumbass would get spotted so damn easily in this game. Yeah, we have to talk about the stealth. Christ. It feels more challenging than previous games, which has some good and bad aspects. It always bothered me how in the past, enemies could never see your protruding skull above the grass. In this game, you will actually need to lay down to stay undetected, which I do like, and it makes enemies feel less like your boy Daredevil. But where I found it kind of frustrating at times was when scaling buildings. Enemies spot you so damn easily, which is another reason not to bother with parkour in this game. You're better off just staying on the ground. To be fair though, stealth isn't terrible and it does feel more rewarding. I also did kind of find it annoying having to push down the analog stick for a short while to access eagle vision. Why can't I just click it in like in previous games? And it also appears that our eagle from Mirage has done a runner, as you can no longer scope out enemy bases, which I found quite a good feature in that game. The skill trees and abilities you've seen hundreds of times before is pretty standard and has a lot of worthy upgrades you'll definitely want to unlock. Overall, the gameplay is decent, but the open world is just as important. There are some things that are kind of frustrating, but let's talk about what it does well first. The visuals take this open world to the next level with some of the best looking locations I've seen, and I personally love this Japan setting. The seasons mechanic is something I've wanted for so damn long in an open world game, and it does change automatically over time, or you can change it manually in the menu, and it just gives whole new life to the map. Please keep this in future games for Christ's sake. Speaking of the map, it's rather big, and once again Ubisoft's Viewpoints fetish returns for the 14th time in the series. You will find yourself riding on a horse quite often, and yes, it's not as good as the Red Dead Redemption 2 horse mechanics, that's a fact, but it's decent, and thank piss there is no stamina bar. Although with how immersive and stunning this open world is, the hidden loading screen when leaving your hideout kinda bugs me. Maybe I'm just the only one. I'm guessing it's there because you can build your hideout like it's The Sims 5. I mean, bloody hell, this is pretty damn cool. This provides another reason to loot enemy bases and explore the map, as you'll definitely want to upgrade this and keep Russell from up happy. But I must say, I did find searching for some shitty blue icon instead of just travelling to a direct location on the minimap kinda frustrating. Although my nan did buy me a compass for my birthday one year, yeah, lucky me for Christ's sake. Please game, stop telling me to search northwest of Setsu or east-west of Senri Hills. Give me a simple waypoint and I'll be happy. The open world has some minor issues, but it's decent overall. But what about the missions and its story? Does it let the game down, or does it take it to the next level? If you're enjoying this video so far, hit that subscribe button because over 90% of you aren't subscribed. I'd love for you to stick around and join the 5%. So no spoilers, I will keep this vague while still giving my honest opinion. The story is a revenge plot you've seen about 69 times already, but I actually think the game does a great job of making you care, as it takes a lot of time to develop characters and focus on emotional moments, whilst most games give you a short 1-minute cutscene expecting you to care. The drawback to this is the game is very cutscene heavy, which some understandably aren't gonna like. I'll be honest, at times they did feel a bit overly long, but it never bored me to tears. Pacing is quite slow as a result, which will be a personal preference. A small but great detail is the follow mechanic, allowing you to walk at the same pace of a character chatting bollocks, instead of trying to walk at their pace manually. I can't be the only one who hates doing this in other games. Some have said that the English voice acting is kind of dog shit. Yes, it's not the best, but you can get a better experience if you enable the immersive mode, which does switch the game to the Japanese version. I just didn't fancy reading more words than a god to hell Stephen King book, and personally I didn't really find the English voice acting that bad, and the facial expressions are impressive as hell, which really helps the performances. The multiple choice dialogue isn't massively frequent, but some of the choices made me wrestle with my dark side. Unfortunately, the ending has been described as horrendous and insanely abrupt, which I was kinda surprised about. I've personally not finished the game yet to comment on this, as Ubisoft gave me the review copy later than other YouTubers. I do keep that in mind, and I will attach my honest opinion to the video description as soon as I've finished it. Missions are definitely more refined when compared to the classics and do feel less repetitive. I appreciate the build up to killing your targets, like learning the etiquette of drinking tea, which being British, I'm Prestige 10 Goblin at, and learning how to conduct yourself around certain characters without blowing your disguise is pretty cool. I really like these little details, and when you do get around to killing your targets, the freedom is yours on how you do this, and I found the missions far more realistic and fleshed out compared to previous games, although this might not be for you if you only care about twatting enemies and causing carnage. So with all that in mind, is Assassin's Creed Shadows a mid-Ubisoft game, or is it truly worth your time? Maybe this is controversial, but does it annoy you how Ubisoft continue to smack the AC name on their games? This really isn't an Assassin's Creed game, and if it was titled something different and was made by someone else, I'd be very interested to see whether it would receive the same level of hate. Maybe they think sales will tank without the Assassin's Creed name in the title, but it has to stop eventually, or we're gonna have games set in the future, free roaming in space with the name AC merked onto it. If you're a massive fan of the classics like me, don't expect this game to deliver what we've had in the past. Mirage was closer to its roots, and this game steps further away from it again. Regardless of this, I still enjoyed it a lot. And I wasn't really a fan of Odyssey, Origins, and Valhalla, so that will give you a good idea on whether this game might be for you or not. If you love open world games, this is a must play. And if you want a classic Assassin's Creed experience, sadly, this really isn't it. Do let me know your honest thoughts in the comments down below and whether you're going to play this, and should Assassin's Creed go fully back to its roots, or should they change the title of these damn games? And to find out what it was like to play the worst rated Assassin's Creed game in 2025, you definitely want to check this out. It was bloody interesting. Click the card on screen to check out that video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.